All right, so our next conversation now, we're seeing in today's fast-evolving digital world, the financial landscape is transforming at an unprecedented pace. The rise of digital payment system, reshaping how businesses and individuals interact, especially across Africa, where access to reliable financial services has been quite a challenge. With new technologies like APIs, that's application programming interfaces, and widgets, playing a pivotal role in simplifying payment solutions. These innovations are bridging gaps and enhancing business opportunities in the region. Well, let's dive deeper now into this conversation. We'll explore how digital payments have evolved in Nigeria and across Africa, importance of APIs and widgets in improving financial access. Joining us to discuss this, we have Ogochukwu Umeokafor. She's Director of Product and Management at Yellow Card. Great to have you on the show.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you.
So talk to me about how, digital payment systems, developed in Nigeria and across, the African continent. How they're looking, to you right now.
Yeah, actually, it's very interesting to see how digital payments has evolved over the past years in Nigeria and Africa as a whole. Basically, at Yellow Card, what we basically do is to ensure that we are able to be the frontier and to foster digital payments through the use of stable coins. So basically, I know you talked earlier about APIs and the rest of them. What we have done is to ensure that we empower businesses and individuals to be able to make payments across borders. A typical example is, scenarios of businesses, global businesses not being able to make international payments, not being able to have the payment rails within Africa. Basically, through our APIs, we enable them to be able to foster these payments, to enable them collect payments from their customers within the continent, and do business, real business within the continent. So, in truth, right, I will say basically stable coins is revolutionizing how payments move across the continent. And we've seen a big level of adoption when it comes to Africa, and especially even in Nigeria, to speak.
Right, I'm talking about APIs and widgets. We see there are terms that people, hear about, but they don't fully understand what it is. Could you break down what they are and why they're crucial, for businesses in Africa?
Yeah, so APIs, like you mentioned, is an application programming interface. But what essentially it does is we give you the ability to integrate into us, into our payment rails, into our collections rails through the use of the application programming interface. So we're not giving you a user interface or an application, but we're empowering you with sets of APIs to integrate into us. So what this means for businesses essentially is your business can keep running as usual. Your customers don't even know that behind the scenes, the payments that are being made are powered by another entity. All they see is you, for instance, say the name of my business is Ogo and Sons, for instance, and Ogo and Sons has integrated into our APIs, okay? Basically, every customer of Ogo and Sons does not know there's a powerhouse behind the scenes powering all the payments within Africa. That's basically what that does. So essentially, if I'm a global business that doesn't have footprints in Africa, by integrating into our one API, we enable you to be able to have coverage across the 20 African countries where we're present at. So that's a big win. It's a typical example where we see startups that don't really basically know, how to get into certain countries they want to do business at. And then we see a lot of them reaching out to us and saying, hey, how can we do this with you guys? How can we collaborate with you guys? And the API is the single source of truth for that, right? Because we have done the legwork, of having those payment rails in this country. It's gone through all the regulatory requirements there is, and then we're kind of an enabler for businesses to be able to thrive within Africa in these countries where we have, where we operate in.
Right, and how do you think, a business, how do you think they should make that decision, when it comes to choosing an API and a widget, platform, something that, maybe might be more innovative than, what's out there?
I think it basically depends on the level the business is at. So the API, right, side of things is you would have had to have done some level of KYC for your customer. You would have implemented some level of regulatory framework or KYC and AML checks within your business. if you want to use our APIs, because what we make sure we do, we make sure we keep up with the standard global practices around, being compliant with regulations, being compliant with FATF, and, all the regulatory bodies around, financial services and what we basically do. So if you want to use our API, we verify and make sure that for your customers, you've done KYC for your customers, so you can facilitate payments through our API rails. But there are also certain businesses, right, that, they're still very much new. They don't have the manpower. They don't have what it takes to have done KYC and, gone through the various level of checks and transaction monitoring. So we offer them the widget, which basically enables. So what that basically does is when you integrate into the widget product, we carry out KYC for the customer. We do all the checks, the transaction monitoring, the fraud checks for you and all. So it's another service, right, for those customers that don't have those businesses that don't have the ability to do that or haven't implemented that framework within their organization. So basically, it plays in two different ways depending on what you want. So we basically positioned ourselves for different markets, different businesses, but essentially one global vision, which is we enable you orchestrate payments within. We are the payment orchestrators. We enable you, we enable your businesses to operate within Africa by providing you with either our APIs or with our widgets.
Right, and APIs, and widgets, they sound, really cool, if you're, listening to this. But are there any risks to, using, APIs and most of these widgets for payments?
No, I don't see any risk there is or there should be for businesses, as long as if you are using our API, you're doing what you have told us you should do on your own side. So what essentially means is that you have carried out the due KYC on your customers. What it means is that you're monitoring the transaction trends. What it means is that you're ensuring that the transactions that are going through our rails are the right transactions. There's no form of illicit sort of payments going through. I don't see any risk there is. What we do is to just make sure that we enable us. We are basically enablers or payment orchestrators, as it were, enabling you to be able to do businesses within the countries where ordinarily you don't have the manpower and you don't have the ability to be able to make payments in those countries.
Right, and we see most businesses, trying to get into that digital space at this point, selling digitally. But many small businesses, they face challenges with, payment integration. How are these technological solutions, helping them remain competitive, in that digital economy?
So for small businesses, again, it's still what we've seen. In fact, it's very funny because I have a very clear case where recently someone was reaching out to me. The person launched a fintech and said, "Hey, Yellow Card, I know you guys are able to enable me collect payments within Africa or make payments into Africa. Can I use your APIs?" So basically what this is doing for small businesses is enabling businesses scale. So for some businesses, they have footprints in one country, but they don't have in 90 other countries, or they have in one country and they don't have in 10 other countries, right? What we basically will do is to enable those small businesses to have a reach in these countries where ordinarily they won't be able to have reached on themselves or would have taken them years to reach. So within our business, right, our core focus is what exactly do we need to do to enable businesses and payments within Africa in the countries where we operate in. So be it small businesses, be it big businesses, we work with both small and big businesses, depending on your value proposition, depending on what you want from us or what you want out of, the countries where we operate in. We have different models that we basically pitch to you and explain to you how we work. So out of the variety of product suites we have on the B2B side, you're able to pick out what suits your business most, and then we help you orchestrate those payments and facilitate those payments into those rails.
Right, it's all about payments. Once you're doing business, you want to be able to receive, money for your goods or services. But thank you so much for breaking it down for us, how the APIs are helping. Ogochukwu Okafor, Director of Product Management at Yellow Card. Thank you for coming on today.
Thank you so much. Yeah, take care. Bye-bye.